Hey there, champ. Let me just... Oh, for fuck's sake.
Back in Flynn's timeline, Connor has a nightmare recounting the events that led to the loss of his limbs. During the ex-Marine's service in the military, he and his friends, while scouting an enemy hideout, spotted a wounded dog trapped in a wired fence. Burton suggested they err on the side of caution and shoot the animal, but a compassionate Connor refused and moved to free it. Reaching the dog, he cut the barbed wires, but shortly after, noticed a hidden bomb underneath the animal. Before he could react, the bomb exploded, severing 3 of his limbs and leaving him disabled. With the events being an exact replica of the RI video footage, it is revealed that the organization was behind this tragic outcome. As the nightmare ends, Connor wakes up screaming while a concerned Burton swiftly rushes to his side. Later that day, Connor meets with Macon, their town's tech guru, and the brains behind Flynn's smooth operation in the future. Connor asks the IT genius about the futuristic world and proposes a crazy plan. He reveals he'd like to abandon his body in the current timeline and permanently move into a peripheral in the future. Macon is weary about his plan, citing his body in the present would need to remain alive for him to exist in the future. However, with his consciousness gone, doing this would be a very hard task. Countering Macon's point, Connor suggests his body can be maintained in a coma-like state and asks the tech guru to consider it. Meanwhile, at the other end of town, an injured Tommy escapes from the ghastly car crash and returns to the station. There, he tries to access the precinct's files on invisible cars, but comes up empty as he discovers someone has deleted all the data. Sensing something fishy afoot, he grows suspicious of his colleagues and resolves to get to the bottom of things. While using the restroom, Tommy is approached by the sheriff and offered a paid leave to recover from his injuries. After their brief exchange, an observant Tommy spots the sheriff's shoes and realizes they are the same ones the mystery man from the car crash was wearing. Puzzling the pieces together, the perceptive cop figures Sheriff Jackman is working as an inside agent for Corbell and hurriedly leaves the station. Without hesitation, Tommy heads to meet Burton and reveals all that happened that day. He recounts his accident with Bob alongside his discovery of the sheriff's shady practices. After his narration, the cop theorizes Bob has been delivered to Corbell and questions Burton's involvement in the ordeal. The ex-Marine tells Tommy there are bigger forces at play and warns him to stop investigating the matter, lest he triggers the wrong people. Over at Corbell's house, an unconscious Bob wakes up and finds an electric collar around his neck. Regaining his bearing, the hitman grabs a nearby knife and lunges at Corbell. However, before he can get to him, Mary activates his collar, electrocuting the hitman and instantly breaking his attack. Later that night, Corbell meets with Sheriff Jackman, leaving Mary alone with Bob. Scanning the house, the hitman spots a water tank by the corner and instantly thinks of a brilliant escape plan. While Mary isn't looking, Bob steals a heavy centerpiece and hides it under his clothes. Feigning interest in the fish, the hitman approaches the tank and uses the centerpiece to strike it twice. Before he can deliver a third hit, Mary activates the collar and electrocutes him. Moments later, the tank's cracks expand, ultimately shattering the protective glass as the water spills all over the living room. Bob soon regains consciousness and grabs a drenched Mary. In a desperate attempt to protect herself, Mary activates the collar with the spilt water conducting the current between them. As a result, they both get electrocuted and pass out on the floor, with Bob waking up seconds later. Meanwhile, over in the future, Flynn joins Wolf as the duo continues their search for Alita. Using the implants he retrieved from her apartment, Wolf traces the fabricators that made them to a local tool shop. On their arrival, the duo indirectly asks the inventor about their dealings with Alita. Learning they're after the missing woman, the fabricators suddenly attack Flynn, with the gamer sharply dodging their strikes. They engage her in a 2v1 matchup, while Wilf quietly gets out of her way. Thanks to her Peripheral's enhanced fighting skills, she manages to defeat the Fabricators and threatens them into answering their questions. Left with no choice, the Fabricators admit they don't know Alita's current location, but reveal she's working with the Neoprims, an uprising group seeking to overthrow the world's current hierarchy. Due to Wilf's murky history with the Neoprims, he's disappointed to learn Alita has joined their ranks and is consoled by the empathetic Flynn. Having hit another dead end in their hunt, the duo exits the shop and returns to Lev's residence. On their arrival, Flynn notes they need more help and asks Ash to construct 2 peripherals for Burton and Connor. Following her request, the technician gets to work and makes the peripherals while Flynn returns home. Miles from Lev's villa, the Metropolitan Police gets word of Daniel's death and finds Wilf's DNA at the crime scene. Inspector Ainsley Lowbeer, a high-ranking detective, takes charge of the case and searches for Wilf alongside her assistant, Beatrice. The search leads Lowbeer to Lev's residence, where they summon the entire household. The inspector explains she has all the proof needed to link Wilf to Daniel's murder, and notes she can have him executed within minutes. However, rather than go that route, Lowbeer offers the group an avenue to save Wilf's life. The inspector reveals she's aware of 3 unlicensed peripherals in the household and demands they summon them. On her request, they send for Connor, Burton, and Flynn, with the trio logging into their respective peripherals. Learning of their arrival, a fascinated Lowbeer introduces herself to Flynn and deviously smirks at the peripheral as the duo shakes hands.